So My Adventures with Superman episode 6 dropped this week. After last week's episode not being my favorite, I'm glad to say that even though not by much, the series seems to be getting back on track for me. This episode might be less exciting action-wise than the previous ones, but it gave us some pretty good exposition. We got more insight on Task Force X and their motives, pretty nice emotional beats, a foreboding ending, and most importantly of all, the show paid tribute to a legendary fallen warrior, a being of immense mana. He was able to hold a common Azure for at least 2 minutes. He did it in high school. I saw. He reportedly went bar for bar with DJ Khaled at the all-you-can-eat In-N-Out convention of 1947. Yes, blood was shat. But what's wrong, players? Not ringing any bells? Are you left pondering as to who in all of creation is this being, this god, this bitch-ass motherfucker? Well, say hello again to Harambe. But in all seriousness, players, we will go into who this mofo is, because I sure did not know at first, as well the story, the plot, and of course predictions for the last 4 episodes. So if you haven't watched the episode, get the hell out of here and come back when you do. But before we do, make sure to hit that sub button, leave a thumbs up, turn on your notifications, follow my social medias. Guys, what if I said that this show wasn't so family friendly? What if I said, I claimed the people who made the show while making the show had been confirmed to have gotten horny?
You might want to take your shirt off. It makes it easier.
What? I've heard that too.
So this episode follows up with the last episode of Lois and Clark at odds due to Clark keeping his secret identity from Lois, the lady that wanted nothing more than to share that with the world, but them coming together to track down Jimmy, who from the last episode we know was abducted by a gorilla-looking creature. We get a little more insight into the relationship with Lois and her father, and apparently they went on a wilderness survival weekends together. Luckily for her, he wasn't going on those by himself, so she's able to track down Jimmy's phone and see he got hauled off by a Planet of the Apes mofo, and Jimmy is revealed to have been captured by the 2 most famous DC characters there are that are totally related to Superman: Monsieur, Mullah, and the Brain. Now, at first, I had no idea who the fuck these characters were. I was like, okay, the show is giving us some original characters right now, some kind of monkey and robot combo, but they're characters from Doom Patrol comics, mainly debuting in the 60s in issue 87 as part of the Brotherhood of Evil, the ops to the Doom Patrol, and they're pretty much attached at the hip in, more ways than one, coming out in many comics as a duo because they are in fact lovers. Now, I get man falling in love with machine, okay? That happens every single day, but monkey falling in love with machine is kind of odd. Man falling in love with monkey also is, well, I can actually understand that. But Doom Patrol, of the less than 100 comics these 2 characters have been in, is most of what they are associated with. No, I have not watched the Doom Patrol show yet, players. I tried to one time, but I knew I had to get that Oppenheimer filter on, and I knew I wasn't following along, so I just stopped. But basically, Jimmy is ready for Death's cold embrace, a true Sigma, no doubt, and that causes, for some reason, Monsieur Mala to take pity on Jimmy and not open him up, but give him a tour of the Cadmus facility, a little history lesson / origin, and drop some pretty banger life advice. Also, like any true Shadow Wizard Money Gang member, he had a black hole just chilling in the lab, okay? No big deal, standard practice. Cadmus in the comics is primarily like a cloning project organization. It was how Superboy came to be, but it also took on different names like most things in comics, like an organization called Checkmate, which more significantly to this show was the OMAC project, or these cyborg drones that took over human bodies, started taking out metahumans. But basically, when we follow back up with Clark and Lois, they're being chased by OMAC, so that means maybe this world runs deeper than it seems, although Mala and the Brain should mean there's a Doom Patrol out there, but I doubt it. They eventually meet up with Jimmy again, and they have a nice heart-to-heart about how they were sorry for flaking on him, and then Jimmy confesses, he always knew Clark was Superman, but wasn't trying to put him on the spot, and was waiting for Clark to just tell him when he was ready, and that's a considerate ass friend. I fuck with Jimmy heavy after the episode. They did get a bit corny when asking why he kept it a secret from them, with the whole, we love you for who you are, not what you are, but I fuck with the message enough to ignore the corniness. They end end up opening the black hole again, and that's how they take out the Omax. Mala and the Brain go through the newly stabilized wormhole to get to another universe, and the whole gang ends up on good terms. The cliffhanger of this episode is the general entering the Cadmus facility, and in comes a restored Professor Ivo, being commissioned to use the remaining tech in the facility to create something to rip Superman from the sky, which is just a badass thing to say, okay? So as far as this episode goes, the only things I really didn't like, which is kind of a constant for me, are the designs. The Omax weren't so bad, but Mala and the Brain look maybe not very much cooler in the comics, but in the comics they have some type of flair, whereas in the show they just look like any old like gorilla or robot, really, okay? Other than it was just kind of predictable, you know, there's a huge black hole, like I wonder if it'll come into play. We also do find out the reason Clark's powers weren't working is because they were under an Omega Red sun shield, zapping his powers, making him weaker. Again, people are saying the tech they describe getting is Kryptonian, which I think it's between that or apocalyptic tech. Again, I'm not a scientist, more of an alchemist really, but I see no reason they'd have Omega in the script without very subtly trying to allude to Darkseid, and Clark having to do something with that. Next week's episode, Mr. Mxyzptlk be the antagonist, so I imagine maybe the black hole had something to do with it, but we'll see. I did really like some of the more emotional beats in the episode. I think they handled the exposition very well, and the whole line of this world has to be a place where everyone is accepted is just peak Superman. So with all that said, I'm going to be giving episode 6 of My Adventures with Superman a fluctuating 6.5 to 7 out of 10. The action was a bit lackluster. I need them to start going off of the designs, but emotion takes you far in my book. Let me know what y'all think Ivo is going to get up to creating, and any other predictions you have for the remaining 4 episodes. Let me know what you thought of this episode, whether you liked it or not, but that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, leave me a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you want, subscribe. I always appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope all of you guys are well, and I'll see you in the next one.